Day 9, Substack Publication. The way I found out about my first meeting was through email. She wanted to know if I felt more comfortable with the first meeting being in person or on video. And honestly, I was torn between the two for hours. I had just wrecked my favorite car over all of the ones I've had to date, and because I couldn't stand to look at it, I let the insurance company total it out. So, on one hand, I would have to find a ride. With that note, a video call sounded good. But I also am not the biggest fan of being on camera. Side note, thank God the podcast I did was only a microphone. By the way, the link for the podcast is now on my profile. But okay, here we go. Back and forth, back and forth. I paced, with my mind doing the same thing on the decision. I ended up sending her an email, letting her know that I would just do the video. At least this way, I could be in my own room. It was the only comforting connection I felt in this whole process. I feel should be called intensified thoughts of pros and cons. 30 minutes before the call, my palms were sweating, and my forehead too, and wiping them just wasn't working. I had already logged in, found the spot I wanted to use, and I just did my best to sit still and calm my nerves. But to tell you the truth, not a thing worked. When she came on the screen and introduced herself, I began to try and come up with what I was going to say back. Her intro seemed polished. On the other hand, I had hundreds of them racing through my mind, yet not one of them came out. I barely mumbled the letter J. I was so nervous, but my face apparently doesn't give off nervous anxiety. I've been told on many occasions, even now, that my facial expressions make me seem unapproachable. Sorry for anyone who reads this and has ever felt this way. I promise it's not intentional. I noticed in the middle of me still not being able to say anything that she was trying to figure out what was all over my wall. And even though I still hadn't said a full word, she asked me, and honestly, I was so grateful, even though at the time I couldn't show it, because this was something I could answer. The wall she was referring to was filled with all the medical records that I had gone through. The ones that made me cry profusely, the ones that I have no memory of, and the ones that felt like I relived them as I read along. So, that's exactly what I told her. Most of the other questions she asked, I wasn't able to answer either. In my mind, I felt like she had to be thinking, why did he even want this? But the truth was, that was the only question that I had an answer for. After the meeting, that thought stung me. I didn't just want this to work. I needed it too. So as soon as we got off the call, I opened up an email and just began to write. Completely dysfunctional, all over the place, but completely and brutally honest. I had no clue of how to edit and grammar. As you've noticed, it's far from my strong suit. Thank God for editors. So I left it like that and sent it to her in an email. By the middle of the week, she responded and told me she had tons of questions. I literally cried. When I hit send, I didn't know if she would see it, let alone read it, and come up with questions. Going back and reading some of that stuff now, I don't even know where to start on trying to fix them. And so for the next few meetings, that's pretty much how it went. We talked over my emails. I was able to explain some of them, while other parts remained to be something I still couldn't come up with answers for, or how to explain what I meant in the slightest way. I'd fall right back into a waterfall of thoughts, not being able to land on one, leading to a stutter of words before I just said, I don't know. Even with conversations now, I find myself with a rush of thoughts, anxiety building, not even realizing what I'm saying. Then I leave, feeling as though what I wanted to and could have said finally comes to mind. And of course, it's always after the conversation is completely over and I can breathe regularly again. This was how she started to get me to open up. Even though I still couldn't express myself at all, she took her time and did her best to make sense of it all, with great questions formed from curiosity and a desire for clarity. Not one general question was uttered, nor did she cheapen our time spent with questions based on assumptions. This spoke to me louder than my own thoughts, time and time again. She truly cares. This wasn't like what you see in the movies, where the therapist just gives engaging body language. No, her questions were about clarity and digging deeper into the cracks of my shell, and in between the words of my dysfunctional cries of letters I sent, she really wanted to know so she could assist me in the best possible ways. She didn't even let sarcasm slide. She truly saw me for me. So, the more this happened, the more my shoulders relaxed as I became more comfortable talking to her. And that's when she said, no, you are too cozy with our meetings going like this. So, for our next session, you can still email it to me, and I will still read it, but you have to read it out loud to me." I went from a small smirk to an instant all-in-one face. You said you want me to do what?" It was in that moment that I knew I could trust her completely, because her challenging me let me know that she wanted to see me grow just as badly as I did. And it was during that next call when she first had me read, as she sat there patiently, just waiting for me to start. That same nervousness from the first meeting came back, and I surely let her know, but it didn't work. She gave me a stern look, and I knew in that instance she wasn't going to budge. And with the way she had been willing to work with me patiently, I felt it was only right to do my best to read it. So, I guess if there was a time that she broke me, it was this moment. In all that I had been through up to that point, it felt like she was the only person who truly accepted me without my mask. And she found a way to make me smile again without it. So from that moment forward, I was willing to do anything she asked. Don't get me wrong, as my mom would say, I'm a natural debater, so I always combated it all, but in the end, her guidance changed my life as a whole. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed this little mini-series, even though it took me 3 days' worth of words to answer the question. And I hope for you, my brother, that this answer brings some clarity. If not, feel free to keep the questions coming. This was fun. With all love, John Newman, learning to critique my own thoughts was a war I had to learn to win with peace and grace. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it, and I wish I had stayed in contact so she could see how differently I write and think now. I didn't just write lost, but not left because I am an expert, or because I am perfect. But not left because I remember what it was like when I felt like no one understood me and everything good turned to ashes. I wrote this book to be a helping hand to others, to be a lifeline for those feeling like they are at their end with no way out, because I remember what it was like. That's why I do this, to build a team of people who will help an introverted person like me get this book in the hands of people who struggle with any of the things I have or can relate to in some form or fashion. And for those who know what it's like to feel misunderstood, as they do their best to try and express themselves, as I did, so their loved ones and support systems can understand them better too, and to simply unthaw hearts that have been broken, bruised, and shielded for protection. I want them all to know that no matter how lost they feel or how far gone they feel, it's not over until it's over, and that's the only real time that it's too late. And most importantly, for all of them to know they are not alone. And they, too, can overcome and begin to pay it forward. In their own way, unlocking their own dreams. Thank you for reading. I'm truly honored to have so many people who are reading my words already, and this is only the beginning. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface. If you liked this or know anyone who would, please feel free to share. I will leave a button for it here. Until next time, and if you want to stay updated, here's a subscribe button. It's completely free. I just set it up to receive donations for those who want to. No pressure. Thank you again.